Hello, friends! Oh, I got too overexcited. You'll never guess what came in. You actually will guess what came in because I'm sure you read the title of this video. My copy of this Coven Won't Break, which is the sequel to These Witches Don't Burn, which is one of my favorite books of the year. So, I just opened it, like literally right now, and it's about 5 p.m. We're going on a family walk in about half an hour, so I'm gonna start reading. Hello! As you can tell because of the lack of continuity, it is not the same day as it was when I started this vlog, and I'm only like 20 pages in. So we're gonna keep trucking with that. I'm so sorry. It's so good, okay? Isabel Sterling, she knows what she's doing, and it's great. I'm on page 101. I'm 32% of the way through, so that's 1/3 of the way through. My goal was to finish it tonight, which, while doable because it's only 10 p.m., is gonna be a little bit intense. But I really like it so far. I really love Hannah and Morgan's relationship, and also like Hannah and Gemma. I also love that Sarah is also queer. Ooh, I almost just like fell over. Also, I'm like in the standing in the bathroom. But I love that Sarah is also queer and like has a baby on the way and a family, and I love how she talks about like non-binary and trans individuals. I like that we get trans representation. Isabel Sterling is just always on top of her shit, and listen, she's like one of my favorite authors to engage with on Twitter, and I'm really excited about Lesbian Vampire book, which The Coldest Touch, I think is what, they announced the title the other day. The Coldest Touch, I think is what it's actually called. Comes out in 2021. Cannot wait. It's 6 p.m. I haven't read, and I'm still only on page 100 of These Witches Don't Burn. Yikes, I'm doing my best. So I'm gonna read probably for like an hour now. I'm kind of hungry, so I might read and then eat. But I just spent the last hour doing my like readathon TBR tracker things for my June readathons. There's so many of them. Would you like to see? I'm gonna show you. Happy Pride Month. So I always do like a little book stack of all the books that I read for my like tracker, and then this is like how many pages I read every day. And then we have my Queer Lit Readathon prompt TBR things. I'll like fill in the boxes. And then this is for the Read Your Gaze Readathon. I've messed up the date. It's May 31st to the 6th, but I wrote June 1st before I looked up the date and then was like, ooh, I'm silly. And this is my Olympic Games TBR. And this is my Pan Am-a-thon TBR. And then we have my Pride-a-thon TBR. So I still have to do the like actual bullet journal part of my bullet journal, like my weekly spreads for school. Yikes. Yes, so I've decided I'm going to do a 45-minute reading sprint and then go hunt for food. I have Cheetos and candy because I'm the worst. But I don't usually eat while I read, so chances of me actually eating any of that while I'm reading, slim. 45 minutes, go. Alrighty, I'm on page 202, the ending of the last chapter. I'm super invested, but I'm starving, so I'm gonna go eat. But before I go eat, the last 100 pages were amazing. I absolutely adored the uncomfy sex talk between Hannah and her mom, because it do kind of be like that. I love how Hannah's relationship with her magic is like a physical manifestation of like her experience with grief. I'm really enjoying that like plot, that subplot, that narrative line. I think it's really cool. Let's see what else. I like how high the stakes are right now. I think the stake setup is great. I think Hannah and Morgan are freaking adorable. And I just really want to know what happens next. Hello. It looks like it's nighttime. It's the middle of the day. It's just raining, so it's really dark. My real camera, like my legit camera, just died, so I'm charging it. So I'm gonna do this part of this video, like my wrap-up stuff. I'm filming it on my phone. So I'm sorry that the quality is not quite as good. Yes, so I finished this Coven Won't Break not yesterday, but the day before. And I was supposed to film this wrap-up yesterday, and then I was busy literally all day, so I'm so sorry. I have given it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I've already said some of the things that I really liked about it. I loved the approach of Morgan, like the approach to Morgan and Hannah's relationship. I love how casually and consistently like diversity is added to the story. Specifically in regards to the LGBT community, we have trans, non-binary, queer, lesbian, like so many different identities represented in the story, and they are all treated with respect, and none of them it's like made a big deal, which I think is my favorite thing, is when it's just like there and like there and explicit, but it isn't treated like and there is a non-binary person. I also think I talked about how I loved the stakes. I think so Isabel Sterling's writing is really, really fun because it's very plot driven instead of very like super character driven. It's very plot driven. So there's a lot of action. There are fun twists and turns. There's always like a mystery aspect, or at least at this point, like in this series specifically. I don't know if like every book she ever writes will have a mystery aspect, but this series, all of the books have like a mystery type aspect. I love how she explores relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but friendships. The relationship of like exes, familial relationships. Watching Hannah and her mom's relationship evolve in this book was really touching, and I really enjoyed that. One of my favorite things about this story, the 2 books, not specifically like one of that, like this one, but like the story as a whole, is how authentic it felt to me, at least. I think Isabel Sterling absolutely knocked out of the park the feeling and the vibe and the experience of being a teenager, which is super cool. That's I mean, obviously I think every YA author's goal is to be authentic in writing young adults' stories, teenagers' stories, and I think she absolutely killed that. Her narrative style is one of my favorites. It's a very streamlined narrative, so it isn't flowery, where Maggie Stiefvater's got this kind of superfluous, like very magical writing. This is drier, but adds a lot of like snappiness and cutting moments to the narrative. It's beautiful. We stan. 5 out of 5 stars. This series is one of my favorite series that I've read this year, and I highly recommend you check it out if you have not already. I feel like this was maybe a weird video to start with if you haven't already, because I'm talking about the second book in the series, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. If you haven't read the series, or you haven't read this book and you read the first one, definitely pick it up, because it lives up to the first book so well. I'm gonna talk for just like 1 minute about some spoilery things. 5 out of 5 stars. Love the characters, love the relationships, love the narrative style. If you like magical realism, witchy business, if you like mysteries and YA and queer representation, this is the book for you, and you should read it. I'm gonna say something a little bit spoilery now, so if you don't want any spoilers, get out. So I've talked about this on my channel before when I read the first one. I love Benton. Like, in the first book, I really, really liked Benton, and then about 50 pages before the Benton reveal, I was like, shit, it's Benton. And I, like, knew, and then I was like, God, now I can't like Benton because he's a bad person. And when Benton came back in this book, I was really excited because I was like, oh, are we gonna get a Benton, redemption arc? And we, did a little bit, but not quite to the extent that I wanted, but that's super a personal preference thing, and I totally get that. But I do appreciate that before, the whole memory wipe thing, Benton did help Hannah and Who was with her? Ah, yes, Ryan. It was Hannah and Ryan Archer. That he helped them when he didn't have to, because he was in the place where he started assessing that what they were doing, their approach, even if he believed in the cause, that their approach was wrong, they needed to stop and be better, and so he helped them escape. I didn't want them to wipe his memory, specifically because I wanted him to have a better come to Jesus moment, but like I said, that's a really niche specific complaint about the book, not because I think it was like the wrong choice or I like actively disliked it or anything. I just liked Benton's character and then was sad when he was the bad guy, and then was excited because I thought he was gonna get redeemed and then he didn't, and I was like, that sucks, what a bummer for me. Yikes. 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you, Isabel Sterling, for writing such a fabulous book. I cannot wait for The Coldest Touch. Y'all should go and buy this Coven Won't Break and These Witches Don't Burn yesterday because it's so good. And I will see you guys super soon for another video. That's all I got for you guys. Goodbye.